All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. So today we have retail sales. Today we also have Goldman Sachs earnings. We also have Canadian CPI data. So we got a gang of data releases today. Um, Music. There we go. And so yeah, Goldman Sachs data drops. Retail sales data drops at 8:30. And so let's look at Goldman today. GS is the symbol for Goldman Sachs. Let's dive a little bit into it. You can see most stuff had a green day yesterday. They're pulling back a little bit this morning, but it's not crazy pullback. Goldman's sitting at 313s right now. Their earnings are expected today at 7:15 market time, so that's in like 25 minutes or so. We also have Lockheed Martin, Johnson & Johnson. I think Johnson & Johnson's already out. Bank of America reported numbers too, I guess. So yeah, Bank of America posted 90-cent EPS versus expected 82. So Bank of America released their numbers here. Here's BAC. You can see them gapping up a little bit, although they're not really reacting too much to it, to be honest. Here, we'll put this up in the chat. Yeah, there's Bank of America. You can see they posted a 90-cent EPS versus 82-cent expected revenue of $25.2 billion. They expected $25.14 billion. They said the third quarter was healthy, but a slowing economy and U.S. consumer spending still ahead of last year, but continuing to slow, end quote. So yeah, so that's what's going on there. Bank of New York posted as well. They did better than expected. Most of these banks are doing better than expected, which is good to see. Where's Amex earnings? And again, we do have a bunch of stuff dropping today. We got retail sales. None of it's really big data. So like none of it's super relevant. We're going to get a poll going live. It's today's retail sales data release. Hope or hurt the financial markets. Or hurt, and then we're going to say, I don't know. Or we're going to say no reaction is going to be one of the options. And then we're going to say, I don't know, since somebody asked me to put I don't know option. All right, there we go. Gold, yeah, maybe gold moves. Bitcoin did a pump and dump. I lost big trade, bro. Yeah, sorry to hear it. I mean, Bitcoin's still holding most of the gains, though. It didn't hold all the gains, but it's up to, almost 29K, which is good. Yeah, so Johnson & Johnson out. Let's see if I can figure it out. Yeah, so Johnson & Johnson posted 266 EPS. They expected 251. Revenue of 21.35 billion. They expected 21.03, so slightly better than expected on both. Recognized as a one-time $21 billion gain relating to the separation of consumer business for Johnson & Johnson upon last earnings release for Bank of America. Their reaction came 30 minutes late. Hey, good luck, man. Bank of Japan reportedly will raising its fiscal year 23 price view closer to 3%. They consider raising their fiscal year 24 price view to 2% or above. Inflation outlook is said to keep the fiscal year 25 around 1.6%, according to Bloomberg. Amex September in USCS card member loans delinquency rate at 1.3%. Previous was at 1.2% at the end of August. Net write-off rate is at 1.7% for Amex. What is Amex earnings? Are they today? No, so they are, what is this, Friday? Is this Friday? Yeah, so Amex is Friday. See, we're posting most of these in chat. Where's Tesla at? So Tesla had a pretty good day yesterday, but it was down so much prior to that. Like, if you look at how much it was down the previous few days, it's not surprising that they bounced a little bit here, you know. You know, I've got this investment into Coca-Cola, and I don't know what to do with it, you know. Like, I don't mind sitting on investments long, and I think Coca-Cola is going to be fine longer term. It's just, who knows where it's going to go short term is the only question mark here. Again, vote on the retail sales poll. We got some votes already. Again, Goldman releases their earnings today. That should be a pretty big release. Again, we don't know how much they're going to move. Goldman doesn't really move that much in pre-market. Who dropped earnings? Who? What time does Johnson? Oh yeah, you're talking about Johnson and Johnson. Yeah, they're out already. Gold will pump. Yeah, where's gold at now? Roblox or Tesla? Yeah, I'm out of my Roblox trade. I ended up selling it for a small loss yesterday. It just, again, options suck, man. They're just too restrictive, unfortunately. Like, they just don't work. You know, I mean, they work, but like, the only reason you should ever use them is if you don't have that much equity. if you don't have that much buying power and you want to get more bang for your buck in that regard, then yeah, options are fine. But if you have enough buying power to just buy shares, like I was absolutely right about my prediction on Roblox. Like I thought it would be over $30 within a couple months, and it was. It went up to 32 plus or 32s. And so the fact that even though it was a couple dollars above my strike price, the option I bought, I guess, was so restrictive that I didn't make money on it. And I ended up losing a little bit, even though I was correct about it. It's one of the things like, and I know it's my fault because I'm not really much of an options trader. And like, I understand that for sure. Like, I'm just not much of an options trader. But I'm not much of an options trader because I have the buying power to just buy shares if I want. And I don't need to buy options, Say what you want about them. I'm not saying you can't make money with them. I'm not saying there's there's no edge you can have with them. But like for me, I got enough buying power to just buy freaking shares. And I'm going to do that next time. Yeah, we're in Coca-Cola. We're in a couple other ones that I'm just going to be sitting on longer term. Tesla's starting to move back up a little bit again. Goldman is scheduled to release their numbers. So Goldman is set to drop. Again, hit the like button if you can, team. We appreciate it. Goldman is set to drop. Goldman is set to drop at 7:15 market time, so in like 15 minutes. Any good trades? I mean, I don't know. I don't give out stock picks or anything like that. It's just not really my style. All right, guys. Tesla at 253s. Hey, what's up, Beach? What's up, V? Again, we do have Powell this week. Let me see. A lot of people thinking gold's going to decline. All right, so Powell speaks this week on Thursday at 11. Yeah, so I've covered this speech before. I'm pretty sure it's by the Economy Club. I've covered this one before. Yeah, it's about the Economy Club of the Economic Club of New York luncheon. I've seen this before. I've covered it before. Let's see if we can figure out where the last one was, where he covers it. Yeah, I think it's by the Economic Club of New York for the Powell speech. Again, look at Tesla. Tesla over 253s now. We're in a couple other things now. We're still in HD, and we're kind of flat today on that one. We're overall red in equities though. trying to see where we can actually watch this speech, though. What do you think about the CFTC suing my forex funds? I think forex is a different game than futures. Yeah, for sure, Pawn, 100%, man. Yeah, I think options are too restrictive. I'm very much the type of trader that will buy stuff and then just sit on it. And like I don't mind bag holding blue chips. I've said this a lot. Like I don't mind bag holding blue chip stocks. As long as they're the right ones. Like I'm not gonna sit on Dish long term. I'm not gonna sit on even AT&T. I'm less likely to sit on it long term because I'm skeptical about that business model. Anything that I'm skeptical about the business model long term, I won't sit on, of course. But like excluding that, those type of that type of niche of stock, I don't mind holding stocks long term, and I definitely don't mind sitting on small losses long term until the blue chips, because most of the time they're going to come back eventually, and so I might as well wait. Bank earnings pre or after market. Bank earnings are this morning mostly. We have some that drop after the open, but they're mostly this morning, I think. Yeah, this evening we have we got some this evening. This evening we have United Airlines, Interactive Brokers, JB Hunt, Hancock Whitney, Pinnacle, Wintrust, Fulton, Omnicom, Preferred Bank, and Equity Bank. So yeah, we got some banks this evening, but it's not like big. None of them are super huge. Yeah, I'm trying to find. Let's see. This is at the Economic Club of New York. Yeah, I've covered this before. Trying to see when this was. Economic Club of New York. I believe the last one was on February 10th. But I think that was last year. There it is, the Economic Club of New York, October 19th. Powell, there we go. All right, well, how do I? All right, and remember, in less than 10 minutes, we got Goldman Sachs earnings dropping. That's one of the bigger ones this morning. That'll influence all of banking, I think. I think that'll influence all of banking. So I think that's gonna influence all of banking. Here, Pawn, I'm gonna send you a message, dude. Yeah, I understand it's a prop firm, Ramen. What I'm saying is that it's a forex prop firm, and so there's differences between that and futures. Like the forex, like if you don't understand, right? So like forex is the Wild West, and like in order to trade forex, you have to use like VPNs and like all this kind of sketchy stuff to do it, because there's so much red tape in forex, right? It's foreign exchange, so there's so much red tape there that it's just very difficult to like get good trading done, reliable platforms, like so forth and so on, right? So the overarching point I was trying to make is that my forex fund is just wildly different than Top Step. It's just not the same thing. NVAX. Yeah, so there's the Powell launching. Opinions on Nvidia. I think Nvidia is interesting to watch. Get ready to watch again Goldman Sachs here, guys. Nvidia is interesting. It's down to 450s, but it's been climbing back up. If we look at like the easiest way to look at it, like this is a lot of noise. Looking at a 10-day chart makes the most sense, right? So a 10-day chart, or actually a 20-day chart probably makes the most sense, right? So here's a 20-day chart. So you can see over the last 20 days, Nvidia has had a pretty big comeback. You know, it was at 430s, 407s back on like the 21st of September. So in the last couple weeks, this thing has really made a comeback from basically $400 all the way up to 470s at one point, 475s, and it's still sitting around 460s now. And so it's been on a pretty big bounce back, I guess is the point. And again, we'll see if it holds, but yeah, it's a big thing. All right, so yeah, there's Nvidia. Again, Nvidia at 450s, but it had a pretty green day yesterday. But the previous few days were red too. So we kind of been going up and down and up and down and up and down the last little bit. So it hasn't been the most reliable kind of holding action, I guess. I use Quant Tower, 10-year. All right, guys, get ready for Goldman Sachs. Yeah, we're up to 4.7% yield, 10-year. Yeah, I use Quant Tower, Ramen. 1%. Bank of America ripped. Again, slap that like button if you can. So remember, Powell speaks on Thursday with the Economic Club of New York. Jerome Powell is worth $55 million, bro. Wow. All right, so yeah, Powell's going to speak October 19th on the Economic Club of New York, just before the U.S. Central Bank's blackout period begins, ahead of its next interest rate decision. Powell's going to deliver prepared remarks and respond to questions from a moderator at the midday event in New York. The next Fed meeting is going to be November 1st. So if you don't, to put some policy understanding here into perspective, guys, right? So here goes Goldman Sachs, number one. Goldman Sachs about to drop their numbers right now. So Goldman Sachs about to be releasing their data right here. All right, so let's get ready. So Goldman Sachs expecting, let's show what they're expecting. So Goldman Sachs today, again, they are expecting 532 EPS on 11.19 billion in sales. So 532 EPS on 11.19 billion. Y'all can hear the music, right? You should be able to. All right, here we go. Goldman Sachs numbers about to be released in about 10 seconds, I think. I think they're supposed to be. We don't know exactly when they're going to come out. You can watch the chart here on the left side. They're scheduled for 7:15, which is now. All right, here we go. And there's the 8:15 level, the 7:15 level. No movement for Goldman yet. We also have Canadian CPI dropping later on this morning. Yeah, I'm looking at Goldman numbers here. Y'all tell me if y'all can find them earlier than I do, but again, they're projected on 531 per share EPS. I'll put this number up on screen too, so y'all can check it out if you want. They haven't moved, so I don't think their numbers are out yet. We'll put the SPY up on the right side here too, so you can kind of see what the market's doing. We're just dipping down a little bit. We've been pretty flat the last few days. Well, yeah, they're not actually out yet. Yowzer. So we're still just kind of waiting for them to release. Yeah, we had LMT earnings. They're dropping today too sometime. They're not out yet either. Goldman not out yet either. So we're waiting. All right, so we're still waiting. Again, Johnson & Johnson out. Goldman's not out yet with theirs yet. They scheduled for 7:15 market time, and it is 7:17 now, so they're just not out yet. Yeah, the Bitcoin ETF wasn't approved. The SEC just chose not to appeal Grayscale's decision, which means that they'll probably be approved sometime in the next couple months, is what that means. So they didn't actually get approved. Grayscale just the Grayscale decision wasn't appealed, which a lot of people thought they would. So that's actually what happened. Is the Grayscale numbers or the Grayscale decision wasn't appealed, and the SEC chose not to. And they were very open about that, and that is why Bitcoin ran and went crazy. Yeah, Goldman's still not out. We're waiting for the numbers to drop, but they're still not out, so we're just kind of sitting tight. But yeah, just so you guys can understand like economic policy here. So there's a blackout period where the Fed is unable to actually speak on where they're actually unable to speak on the economy or policy outlook It starts the second Saturday before the policy meeting. So the second Saturday before the FOMC meeting, the Fed is actually barred from public comments on the economy. So I don't know if you guys knew that, but again, the next meeting is November 1st. And so again, the second Saturday before the policy meeting. So the next one is November 1st. So yeah, so they are going to be barred from speaking starting November 11th. They're not going to be able to speak on financial policy until from November 11th onward until the actual Fed meeting, November 1st. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Goldman Sachs, bro. They're late. They haven't released their numbers. They're just not out with their stuff yet. Very strange. Most of the time, they're pretty on time, I would say. But no Goldman Sachs release here. I think they were. I'm pretty sure they're today. Yeah, they're today. Lockheed Martin's scheduled for 7:32. So Lockheed Martin's going to be dropping theirs in about 10 minutes. We had a couple other ones: Mercantile Bank, Cambridge Bank, but yeah, the 10 years pushing up. If you look at TNX, which is a good way to look at it, it's up to 4.71%. It's not 4.75, not on my end at least, but it might be somewhere else. We also have Canadian CPI data drop. So Canadian CPI data drop is their Bank of America earnings today. I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Bank of America dropped already. So Bank of America numbers are out. I'm pretty sure. Let me show you. All right, so Johnson & Johnson. Yeah, so Bank of America numbers are right here. So they posted better than expected EPS sales. They said the quarter 3 was healthy, but a slowing economy. I'll put that up in chat so you can see it. Retail sales in Europe record grow in US. Record grow in US will be the same, even higher. GDP live Fed tracker just jumped over 5%. Jamie Dimon warns of dangerous times. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. All right, hey, slap the like button here, guys. Hit the subscribe button. We appreciate it. Again, we're waiting on Goldman numbers here. Goldman had moved all morning. 10-year yield is up there. We can look at the Q or the Nasdaq here. We also might start trading a little bit more too. Hey, what's up, Polaris? I hope defense stocks dip again once Congress and Gap get off their butts and pick a speaker and defense funding gets passed. Yeah, I ended up buying RTX, and we're down a little bit in it, but we're pretty close to flat. I mean, we're down a couple percent, but it moves a lot, so we should be okay. Fear the 10-year. Well, yeah, the 10-year is going to have an inverse effect on the market, so like short term. Again, look at Goldman, man. I'm surprised Goldman's not moving. Morning. KTOS ripping up nice. Sounds like a penny stock to me. No, it's a defense stocks. My apologies. Yeah, I mean, it's got a good trend over the last few days, though. On Friday, Kramer said sell Bitcoin going down. We reached 30K. Yeah, I mean, you know how that goes. How has Lockheed Martin performed during earnings? I'm not sure. I'm not really one to really watch Lockheed Martin a lot. They dropped their numbers in about 8 minutes. They've had a green year, but a volatile year. Nice long-term trend, though. The Lockheed Martin trend long-term is really solid, though. So, like, people might not like these big ranges, but I think you have to look at this. I'm going to put Goldman up on the right since we're waiting for it to release. People don't like these big ranges, but I think these are some of the easiest trends to, like, take advantage of. So, like, look at this trend. Pretty nice. Pretty solid, obvious trend, I would say. Good morning, John. And all banks will be profitable, but the main thing hurting the market now are the wars. Yeah, for sure. I mean, rate hikes over the last couple of years have hurt the banks too, for sure. Yeah, we're waiting for Goldman to drop. They're just not out yet. Lockheed Martin's the other one that comes out today in about. It's scheduled for 7 minutes, but Goldman was scheduled for 8 minutes ago, and nothing's out for them yet. They still haven't moved. So we'll see how Goldman influences the market. They just haven't released. We got to sit tight. I don't really see that many bears. I see a little bit of neutral action, you know. All right, team. Again, slap that like button. Yeah, I mean, that's what people don't realize, Yowzer, is that it really is like that. Like, it's good for the economy in some ways. Like, a lot of presidents push for war because uh, because that is seen to certain standards as a successful presidency. Like, and again, that's kind of why, if you look back at history and you think some politicians have been overzealous for war, that's kind of why. All right, guys, still waiting. Goldman moved a little bit. So is Goldman out? They had a big red candle. I mean, it doesn't really mean much yet, but Goldman moved some here. So we'll see if the numbers are out yet. We're waiting. I don't really see anything yet, though. I'm still waiting. Okay, Goldman is out. All right, so Goldman posted 547 EPS versus 532 expected. 547 EPS versus 532 expected. Revenue came in. Did they not post revenue? Okay, revenue of 11.82 billion versus 11.19 billion expected. They said we're doing much stronger. We're doing provides much stronger platform for 2024. And so again, they came in better than expected for EPS, better than expected for sales. So again, they posted a quarter three EPS at 547. Again, 537 or 547 versus expected at 532. Revenue. Again, they showed revenue of 11.82 billion versus 11.19 billion. All right, so we'll put this up on screen. Yeah, Goldman coming in better than expected on both. Not really moved at all, though. So here's their numbers right here for Goldman Sachs. They're moving a little bit, but again, they could move more. Now we can watch Lockheed Martin. That's scheduled to drop in about 2 minutes. So again, another good run for the banks, but Goldman's not really moving any at all. Which I guess I don't really cover Goldman earnings a lot, but they're not really moving some. Maybe it's a lag. It's possible too. All right, guys. Goldman up to 315s. Goldman's not really doing anything. I wouldn't say it's dropping. It's not really moving. The next one to look is Lockheed Martin. Goldman doesn't seem to be a stock that moves a lot in pre-market either. Again, net interest income for Goldman was 1.55 billion. 1.55 billion. Yeah, I mean, yields are popping. Look at Lockheed Martin. So I think Lockheed Martin might be out. Let's take a look. Lockheed Martin came in third quarter EPS of 673, so they are out. They came in 673 versus 667, revenue of 16.9 versus 16.73, so slightly better than expected here too. All right, so a lot of people are saying treasuries are selling off. I'm gonna put the so there's the Goldman numbers. I'm gonna put the Lockheed Martin numbers right up below it right here too, so you guys can see both of them. Are treasuries dipping today? Let me see. I don't know why they're saying treasuries are dipping. We got Fed Williams, Canadian CPI, and retail sales data. Yeah, I don't see Goldman's not moving at all. Here's TNX. I don't know why they're saying treasuries are dipping. They're up decent today. All right, so again, not really much action, kind of quiet, all things considered today. So we're gonna put up the SPY here. Again, SPY is giving back some of the gains it made yesterday, but again, I wouldn't really say anything's too crazy right now. The Q, so tech seems to be holding a little bit better. Oh, the 20 years now. What's the 20-year yield? So yeah, I guess the 20 years at 5.1%. Yeah, so I can see. I see TLT down. SPY trying to bounce, but again, part of me wants to short this. The other part of me thinks that we might as well just kind of relax and wait. Anything else that looks good today? I don't think we have any other big earnings right now, do we? All right, team. Where is my charts? Retail sales data, Canadian CPI data coming out today too. So who is that? Let me see. Where is that one coming from? Oh. All right, so we are getting a little bounce back on the SPY on the Q. Part of me wants to short this. Should I? I don't know, man. See what the Nasdaq's doing. And part of me wants to short this. Does this mean the economy is solid? I'm going to put a timer up for retail sales. No, it definitely doesn't mean the economy's solid yet. We don't know what the like. It's hard to explain, but the economy, I wouldn't say it's good or bad right now. All right, so we got 53 and a half minutes or so. We'll just leave it like this. All right, so we got about 53 and a half minutes. I'm shorting here. Yeah, I mean, we're in a trend. One thing I started to like doing is taking the Nasdaq in pre-market because it moves less in pre usually. But the SPY bouncing back a little bit. So SPY at 435s. I'm new to the stock market. Can you tell me which app website to use? I mean, I'm using TOS, but it's subjective. What platform you like, what app you like using, you know, it's pure subjective. Some people are going to like different ones. It's just research, try a few different ones out, see if you like them. All right, guys. So again, we got FOMC member William speaking today. So we got William speaking today. Core retail sales data expected at 0.2%. Regular retail sales data expected at 0.3%. Canadian CPI is expected today at 4% year over year and 0.1% over month to month. Right. So again, that is what Canadian CPI is expected at. We'll see if we hold or we do something today with this report. Again, we're watching the Q, the Nasdaq here. We're watching the SPY a little bit here as well to see if they hold. I don't really look at the Russell very much, but maybe I should. Again, I just we all have different preferences for like index funds we look at. I usually look at the SPY or the SPY ETF, that is, or the S&P index fund, or the Q, or the Nasdaq. You know what I mean? So basically, the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 are the two index funds I heavily watch. But everybody's different, brother. Everybody's different. People like different things. They trade different things. They trade different ways. They look at different things. A lot of people watch the Dow long term, which I do as well. But you know, it varies. Tesla earnings are tomorrow. So tomorrow we have Tesla earnings. It's going to be a busy week, to be honest. Let's see if the market bounces back. Russell had big sustained movement at the RTH Open recently. Will you stick with Schwab when it changes from TD? Yeah, there's not going to be any difference. They're still going to have TOS. Like Thinkorswim's still going to be the platform used. And so I'll just stick with TOS because that's the platform I use. Again, Nasdaq still ripping up. So we get SPY, Nasdaq both moving up a little bit. We'll see about the 200 EMA VWAP level on the SPY. We're approaching that spot now. Russell was at the low and caught the last Friday in the gap up yesterday. Russell can almost be a leading indicator of the other indexes I found. What's the Russell symbol? I just don't really watch it too heavily, but I can look at it. Let's see. Russell. RUT. What's the future symbol of Russell? Of the Russell, I mean, the futures contract. Hey, what's up, Alexis? Yeah, all good. Goldman Sachs near 315 again. Yeah, Goldman is just, it's not volatile enough in pre. RTY. Well, yeah. But I mean, the futures contract. Is this RTY? I've never traded the Russell futures. There it is. So yeah, I mean, it just depends. Like, let me look at the broader movement relative to something like the Q here. Here's a yearly chart. Oh, I just want to see the differences. I mean, it looks like it underperforms the market. You know, the Russell is sideways, break even on the year relative to the Q or the SPY or the Dow even, you know. Russell looks like it underperforms the market. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but this looks like it's flat on the year. I mean, long term, I'm sure it looks a little bit more close, but like here's the S&P. And so if we put up a weekly chart here, yeah, it looks like it underperforms. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but it looks like it could do better. Hey, what's up, Brian? Russell has a high amount of shorts for next Friday. Yeah. All right, we got one trade up right here that we're kind of taking on the Nasdaq here. I'll probably go ahead and cut that, lock it in. So we're up about $100 on this account on the day. We'll see what we get for the rest of it. We got that first stage of the cushion built. Where's AMC at right now? AMC still at 930, still struggling here. Not really doing much. Microsoft's an interesting one with earnings soon too. Again, here's Goldman. Goldman not really moving much. Here's the Q, Nasdaq. We can put Tesla up as well here. Here's Tesla. Tesla at 253s. Maybe I should have held that Nasdaq short a little bit longer because the market's flushing. So maybe I should have held it a little bit longer, but it's all good. Again, slap that like button, guys. We could break over 100 likes. We got 71. We got 330 people here. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. We appreciate the love. Thanks so much. We did get that flush breakdown here. I might short a little bit more, to be honest, on this little baby pop. And so we got a cushion. All right, so we shorted. We're immediately in the money, but I'd like a little bit more if we can get it. 15, 20 bucks. Flat now. So we're starting to break down some more. Again, we're up 35. There we go. 40, 50. I'm going to go and lock that in, take that profit. So we are up. Again, you can kind of see here we are up about 150 on the day. We got a 4-to-1 win-loss ratio so far. So we got that cushion built, or at least a small one so far. As you guys know, that's my first step. I don't really trade gold that much. I watch gold, though. I'm holding gold. I invest in gold. I wouldn't really say I trade it very much, though. Lockheed Martin is out with their numbers. Very underwhelming reaction, I would say. Are you doing options now? No, these are futures, right? So the futures market, there's no PDT rule, and this is what I'm trading. I'm trading on Top Step, which is a funded program in futures. I've been funded in 3 accounts over the last couple months, but what they do is they give you a demo. They test your skill. If you can pass their test, they fund you between 50,000 up to 150,000 with a 90% split once you're funded. So like basically traders can put up less money, ultimately have less risk. Instead of risking thousands in the beginning, they can risk $49. And if you're good enough to pass the testing, which is definitely not going to be everybody, they fund you between 50 to 150K. But aside from that, it's very similar to stocks. There's just no PDT rule, right? So this is the Nasdaq, basically the Q in futures, and it's options, or it's contracts, but it's not options, right? So I buy one contract and it moves very similar to like the equivalent of on the Nasdaq, it's the equivalent of 1,000 shares. One contract is the equivalent of 1,000 shares. So every tick up or down in futures is going to be $10, right? So it's the equivalent of 1,000 shares. And I've been basically shorting the Q in futures, right? If you want to check it out, I'm not trying to do a sponsored plug so early. I'm just kind of explaining what futures are, but I guess I already did. And so if you want to check them out, they are a sponsor of mine. I'm certainly biased because they pay me money, but genuinely useful if you want to have less risk. You know, most day traders lose, right? That's the perspective you have to look at it with, is most day traders lose, right? So you can either put up thousands yourself and risk that and understand you're probably going to lose that, or you could put up noticeably less. Base combine's $49. You know, I think that makes more sense. But again, how do they pay you? They pay you as a contractor. So like an independent contractor is how they pay you. What's the point of having 3 accounts? Well, once you're funded, you know, they're not going to let you just YOLO their account. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to let you just risk $30,000. So you're going to have max losses. You're going to have some restrictions once you're funded, which of course anybody's going to be. If you're going to let somebody trade with 50K, are you going to let them risk the entire 50K? Of course not. You know, you're going to have parameters set that they have to follow. And so the benefit of having more than one account is that it expands my risk parameters. Is the easiest way to put it. I can take small size in one account, large size in one account. If I'm close to my max loss in one account and want to keep trading on the day, I can pivot to another account and try to build up profit or do whatever. So there's some benefits for sure. All right, guys, we got 350 here. Retail sales data still drops in 40 minutes. No, they pay you in cash, or they direct deposit you as an independent contractor. You know, I don't even think there's an option to get paid in crypto. Again, they're located in Chicago, right? They're located in the United States, so they're not one of these sketchy prop firms that are located overseas somewhere in Cyprus or whatever. You know, they are. Yeah. All right, guys. Tesla at 253s. Yeah, I mean, I try to be honest. I'd probably make more sales if I just kind of told people they could get rich, but I'd rather just be real with people, you know. All right, guys, again, market bounced up a little bit. Part of me wants to short again. I don't know if I should. I got a little cushion now. still think we're in this downward trend though, is the thing. And so I'm going to take one contract here, short. Or no, so the Nasdaq is the one contract of the Nasdaq is only $5 per tick, right? So this is the equivalent of 500 shares. But the Nasdaq moves very quickly, like very fast. So it can move for you or against you very quickly. The E-mini is the one that has the 1250 per tick one. So again, we're flat. You can see one contract. You can see my P&L right here. We're down. We're up $5. We're down $5. We're down $10. But again, aside from that, it's pretty similar to stocks, like buy market, sell market, buy bid, sell the ask. Very similar to stocks. Just you know, you got to understand them. They're slightly different. And again, my risk system is very simple. I tell people this all the time. Like, what I always do is I build up a cushion first. My job initially on the day. So like what I have to work on when I first start trading on the day is building up a small cushion. Right? I want to build up a small cushion. See, now we're up $40. See, we get a breakdown here. We're up $25. My job is to build up a small cushion, right? I want a cushion of a couple $100. All right, look, there we go. $50. I was just about to cut it, but it popped down. So if I can build up a cushion first, that's ideal. I'm gonna go ahead and lock that in and just make my $40 and kind of scalp in this move. Because again, I'm still in the cushion building phase, right? So I want to build up a cushion of a couple $100, and I've effectively done that. We're up 180. Here's my graph on the day in profit. Again, my win-loss ratio is 5-1 so far. So we're doing okay. Part of me wants to short. What I'm really doing, if you want to see what the strategy I'm using here, I'm just attacking this trend. You know, so if we look at the Q right now, which is essentially what I'm trading in futures, I'm trading the Q. What you see here, and it's actually a little bit more obvious in futures, but what you see here is a very clear trend going like this, right? So what I'm essentially doing is waiting for a rejection at the top of this trend line up here. So you can kind of see we moved up and then we rejected and we put in a high and then we put in a higher low. I'm shorting into this higher low right here, anticipating that we're going to reject and come back down and stay in this trend. You know, that's basically what I'm doing, if that makes sense. And I think that logic makes a lot of sense. Again, I'm looking for us to test the top of the trend line, which is probably a little bit closer to like, yeah, that's a bad drawing. You know, the trend is probably a little bit cleaner like this, but like still. So you can kind of see the trend in between is like this. Right, like that's what we're in right now. I'm basically just shorting at the top, anticipating a breakdown in the trend. So I hope that makes sense. And I'm scalping it too, so I'm not taking like super long-term trades either, of course. No, I don't pay data fees. You have the option to pay for level 2, but I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's just a sketchy penny stock, though, NASCAR. I mean, you're mostly talking about penny stocks every day. So do you actually invest in penny stocks, NASCAR? And if you do, explain it. I'm genuinely curious why anybody would be motivated to invest in penny stocks. I understand, like, people might have less funds to trade, so they might think they have to invest in penny stocks. But the edge is just so little, man. The edge is so low. You know, and again, what you get a lot of the time, I think, is like you get people selling penny stock courses and you get people joining those groups. And a lot of them don't like me because, again, they think I'm hurting their business model, right? But like you see them be a part of these groups, and like I see it all the time with Amazon FBA. You know, like you see this guy, you see these people selling courses on Amazon FBA, right? And they're selling mentorship programs for like Amazon FBA. And it's like the people sign up for the mentorship program and they open up a store, and then their store gets basically no business, right? Their store gets no business, no sales. But because they want so desperately and they idolize their mentor, right? They kind of lie about profits. They act like they're more profitable than they really are to kind of go along with the scheme, almost, right? They act like they're more profitable than they are to go along with the scheme. And then it just kind of snowballs into like a bunch of fugazis, you know, going out there just, you know, they might have 3 reviews on Amazon, but they're going to claim they're doing 30K a month, you know? And it's just like, same thing with penny stocks. And again, I don't claim to be profitable. I don't claim to be a good trader. I don't claim to be any of that because my job is to avoid that type of behavior. But I don't know, man. I guess like I just don't see very much of an edge, and maybe it's because I suck in penny stocks. Like, right? Like that's certainly possible. Maybe I suck at penny stock trading. But John, do you pay for data fees on TradingView? Yeah, I pay for TradingView data fees for sure. No, I day trade small caps. I'm not against that. It's all good. NASCAR, do your thing, brother. Yeah, I definitely. OCGN. Man, I remember when people were saying this thing was going to hit $5. I guess I've been around the market so long. You know, like I've been around the market so long that I've seen a lot of these penny stocks. And like I've seen them go from like $5 down to, you know, and at $5 everybody's like, yeah, they're gonna go to 20 cents to the moon. They're gonna go to 20, or they're gonna go to $20 to the moon, you know, and then they drop down to $2, right? And then they pivot to, hey, it's gonna push up to $5 to the moon, and then it drops down to 50 cents, and then they say, hey, it's gonna push up to $2 to the moon, and then it drops down to 20 cents. And they say, hey, it's going to push up to 50 cents to the moon, you know? And so, sorry, I'm bumping my mic. And so it's like, I've seen a lot of these penny stocks like Ocugen, like OCG, and this thing's been around a long time. I've watched it go down over time. I've watched it melt over time. And I don't know. I just can't get behind it. I just can't get behind it. All right, Tesla sideways, trying to hold that 200 EMA volume weighted average price. We'll see if it does. Again, we got retail sales in 30, Canadian CPI dropping later. Yeah, I mean, there's some penny stocks good for scalping, but the problem with even day trading penny stocks, right? The problem with even day trading them is that finding consolidated volume is very difficult. It's very difficult. Like a lot of the time, you're not going to get good enough volume to really day trade it. The spreads are terrible. So like even if you get filled, you're going to get filled in a pretty bad spot. You're like you're going to be digging. You're going to be in a hole to begin with, just because the fills are so bad. So in some of these low liquidity stocks, and so that's the problem, is that like the edge is so low. And then when you take into account, like some of them get halted and never resume. Some of them get halted and gap down, 500%, or no, some get halted. I'm sorry, that doesn't even make sense. Some of them get halted and gap down 75%. Some of them get halted and resume in 3 months, but on the pink sheet market, down like 95%. Sensationalized marketing, like dilution that you can get stuck in. Like some of these penny stock CEOs will pump a penny stock up a little bit, get all these retail traders so hyped up about the penny stock, like, yeah, we're gonna get rich, and then just slam an offering down on them, dilute the company, and they lose 75% plus of their investment, in like a second. And so when you add all of that into account, I just can't. I'm not interested in day trading them. And maybe it's because I suck, but like I've been there, Yeah, but they're not. Nasdaq said, my take on penny stocks, they have good PR drops just like Apple would. All the gurus are going to pump it after a PR drop. So if you get in early, you are getting ahead of the pumpers. Yeah, but they also could just drop 75%. Or you can, most of the time, what happens, like, here's the risk of that, NASCAR, is that these companies will put out sensationalized marketing and then slam an offering and dilute the company and drop the stock 75%. And so if you get in early on some of these drops, you're going to get destroyed, because a lot of the time what these CEOs do is they pump the stock up with marketing and PR drops, and then they hit an offering. When the stock is pushing up, they slap an offering on you, and then you're down 50%. And so, yeah, I mean, again, maybe I suck. I don't know. Yeah, I think even taking it around all-time lows is sketchy. Hey, slap the like button if you haven't already. Yeah, so here's the 8 a.m. scrum. Again, you can kind of see the cues towards the top of that trend line. We're also right around the 200 EMA and the volume weighted average price. So we'll see if we hold that spot too. Tesla right over the 200 EMA, Q right below it. Tech heavy. Watch. Let's look at Nvidia as well. Nvidia under VWAP now, but trying to move. All right, so look at the Q pop up a little bit as well, right at the volume weighted average price. So we could get a couple things here. We could get a big breakout over this and a trend change to the upside, or we could get a rejection here. A rejection would ultimately be confirming the current trend on the downside. A break above it could signal a trend change. So we'll see. And there we go. We got 100 likes. All right, guys. So again, we popped up a little bit here to 368.30s. And then we dropped a little bit the 8 a.m. scrum influencing stuff some, but watch Tesla here as well. The other ones to kind of peep out are Amazon, which is down pretty big on the day. Google, which is slightly down. Bank earnings, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup. Mostly green today, although we do have some that are gapping down a little bit. And then again, Nvidia is starting to flush under the volume weighted average price. Looks a little weak there. Let me put I like getting the volume out of the way. I'd rather it not overlap the volume. Yeah. But there's the VWAP right there. So we're keeping an eye on that one too. What's the guess on Tesla earnings? I'm not sure. Tesla is expected to show for earnings tomorrow. But again, United Airlines this evening will be interesting. Again, Tesla earnings expected at 75-cent EPS. So it's kind of a low EPS expectation for Tesla, in my opinion. 75 cents is pretty light. Like, to put it into perspective, and again, when you consider the revenue for Tesla, I don't know if that's necessarily a good sign here. Because again, like as an example, Tesla revenue is at 24.26 billion, right? So almost 25 billion in revenue for this quarter. They were only expecting 75-cent profit. EPS. That's pretty low, in my opinion. Netflix, just as an example, only got 8.43 billion in revenue for the quarter. But at the same time, you have to think in terms of margins. Netflix is a software company, Tesla is a automobile company. So the margins are going to be worse, of course, for Tesla than they are for Netflix. But I just think it's interesting how much revenue Tesla's bringing in at almost 25 billion, and their EPS expectations are only 75 cents. Now, with that said, there's a lot of shares out for Tesla as well. So Tesla has a bunch of shares floating around in the float. So, yeah. Let's see about the Cybertruck, man. I think if they announce the Cybertruck, it's going to be crazy big. So, Yeah, the Cybertruck announcement's what everybody's sitting on. Hey, what's up, Shepard? I don't know. I don't know if Tesla's in a bubble. I think I see a lot of Teslas driving around. And so I think for Tesla, you have to understand how game-changing of a company it is, right? Like, that's a game-changing company. Like, Tesla, that's a company that is changing the automobile industry and has been. And there's a lot of them out there. So there's a lot of Teslas driving around. Everywhere I go, I see Teslas now. And that's way different than it was a few years ago. And so and again, just to put this into perspective, Tesla is the only automobile company, the only independent company outside of the major brands that has succeeded. You know, the only one close to it recently has been DeLorean. So Tesla is basically like the modern day DeLorean without the drug dealing and stuff. The DeLorean movie is super interesting, but yeah. So again, Tesla. I think when people bet on Tesla. So again, we did reject at this 200 EMA VWAP level. So we did reject. Let me know if you think this is confirming that trend. We still got 23 minutes until retail sales data comes out, but we did reject here. But yeah, you have to understand a bet on Tesla is betting on the future of automobile full self-driving. FSD is going to be a thing. It's not arguable. It's going to be a thing. And it's obviously going to be a thing, you know, and with that into the future, you know, full self-driving is going to make a lot of changes to the automobile industry. So FSD is going to fully change the industry. And so, yeah. So again, confirming the trend on the Q. Q breaking down. There's Nvidia breaking under the VWAP here. And again, let's look at Tesla. And again, I think the Cybertruck's going to break records, man. I really do. I think it's going to break records. Every Tesla that uses full self-driving is gathering data. Well, yeah, they're gathering data all together. I'm not saying Tesla's going to beat expectations. I have no idea what it's going to do. So yeah, I genuinely have no idea what that's going to do there. No idea. What I will say is that Tesla is changing the automobile industry. I think that's very clear. And I think it's got a lot of haters, but that usually means it's doing something right. For so many people to just hate it, I think some of it's political because I think Elon doesn't have a filter. And so I think people just, and I get it, to be honest, man. Like, if I'm holding Tesla, I'm nervous because freaking Elon's saying crazy stuff. But I think when you take a step back outside of the CEO and you look at the actual company of Tesla, I think it's really interesting for sure into the future. Problem with using only vision for FSD is there's no redundancy in the system. I mean, I feel you, but again, I think over time it's going to become more and more efficient. I think that's how technology evolves. And so I think regardless of where it's at now, I think over time it's going to become more and more efficient because I think when you look at, so when you look at the future, right? And when historically, when people have made predictions about the future, like we've gotten like flying cars and all this different stuff, but a lot of them have been accurate. Like some of the other predictions have been accurate, specifically screens, phones, tablets, streaming, FaceTime, stuff like that. Like that stuff has been accurate. And that stuff has been, it's the question is whether sci-fi inspired the future or whether whether people in history have accurately predicted the future, right? So whether it was inspired or whether it was predicted is the question, because there's a lot of like, here's an example: Back to the Future 2. In Back to the Future 2, Marty McFly goes into the future. He goes to, like, I think it was like 2016 or something like that. I can't remember where he went, but it was sometime into the future, right? Around modern age, right? It was around modern age. And at that point in time, there was like streaming, like you could see he's talking to his boss from a TV, like from a flat screen TV. He's talking to his boss, and it's kind of the equivalent of streaming or something like a conference live. That did end up ultimately happening. Anyways, the overarching point I'm trying to make is that when we look into the future now, I think one thing that's very clear about our future is that cars are going to drive themselves based off of the current technology that we have, based off of full self-driving, based off of where technology is at now. Cars are going to be driving themselves pretty soon. You know, the only question is when that's going to happen. I think it's going to be pretty soon. I think already we have good enough algorithms to sustain that type of technology. It's just, again, it's whether they can roll it out and scale it efficiently. That's the question. And I think Tesla's obviously going to be at the forefront of that, you know, aside from a couple risks that they're not. But I think that's where we are right now. And I think if they are behind that, if Tesla is behind that, their stock's going to go do really, really well, because again, it's such a game-changing technology. I think we're already there with EV, but I think full self-driving is going to be such a influential technology of the future that Tesla stock, as a consequence, is going to do really well. Again, that's my thoughts. Maybe I'm wrong. There's certainly some vulnerabilities there with Tesla, though. There's certainly some risks. Okay, so I'm not saying there's no risks. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I think it's pretty likely. Canadian inflation is not out yet. Please stop spamming, dude. Sheesh, bro. How many times you got to say it? Inflammation. What is inflammation? Inflammation. What about Canada? Does the inflammation increase or decrease? I mean, hey, let me know, guys. Is inflammation up or down in Canada? Let me know. No, Canadian inflation is not out yet. It's expected at 0.1% on the month. Right, exactly. I think that's true. Cars will drive themselves. They will communicate with each other, join up when going in the same location, relay road conditions to each other, so forth. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of data swapping between everything. And I think that's data is one of the primary goals of these things, is just to pick up data, right? That's what a lot of big tech companies make their money off of, is data. And so that's certainly not going to be an exception here. Yeah, drink water for inflation. You know, I heard CBD is good for it. Inflation, or not inflation, inflammation, guys. Apparently. Yeah, so inflation is expected to get at 0.1% for CPI month over month for Canada. Core doesn't have expectations. Again, the big one that releases right now, guys, in about 18 minutes is retail sales. So again, US retail sales are expected at 0.3% month over month. And what are they expected on a year? The yearly one's not really expected. And core retail sales are expected at 0.2% month over month. Yeah, and for whatever reason, people just get really hateful of like, and again, I'm not a person that hates any company. I might be skeptical about specific companies, but I think the mistake a lot of people make here is, like, a lot of people try to predict the big boy stocks, like the blue chip stocks that are too extended or overinflated. And I think there's just so much risk with that type of strategy. Generally, it's much better to instead of predicting stocks that are, especially blue chip stocks that you think are overinflated, there's just so much risk with that, because blue chip stocks are usually going to go up over time. And so if you're wrong, you're going to be wrong big, because a lot of these companies are just going to surprise people. It's a lot easier to pick companies that are already struggling and then bet on their downfall than companies that are then betting on basically reversals on the upside, in my opinion. But everybody's different. Here's the retail sales expectation. My ranch property is 100 miles away from a charging station. I know, but 100 miles is not that much, King. Again, like the understanding thing to have here is that most of these cars come with chargers at the home, right? So if you had an EV, you would be able to charge your car overnight, and it's going to have a 400-mile range. So whether you have a charging station within 100 miles of you is insignificant. It doesn't matter, because again, if you had an EV, for instance, you would have the charging station at home. As you got home, you would plug it in overnight, and when you woke up, it would be fully charged, and you'd be able to drive 400 miles. And so, yeah, not really relevant, I would say. Not really significant in terms of whether you want an EV or not. And again, I don't even have an EV, so I'm not even like, again, Nvidia started to break down at 450. So let's watch 450, the whole dollar level right there. So yeah, it's not like I have an EV and I'm really pushing everybody to buy an EV. I just think they're obviously the future of the automobile industry, specifically full self-driving is. Now, when we'll get that is a different story. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get that in 5 years, in 2 years, in 20 years. I'm not sure, but I know it's the future. As long as nothing crazy happens, I think it's a very self-evident thing, a very obvious thing. Hey, what's up, Buzz? Thanks, man, for the donation. How does retail sales affect the market? So it depends on what the market fears, right? If the market is fearing inflation, it's not going to want higher retail sales. Higher retail sales are usually going to be seen as a negative if the market's fearing inflation. If the market is fearing a recession, it wants economic and GDP growth. So higher retail sales are going to be seen as a positive in that regard, but it's nuanced. It's not really something in which we get a really predictable reaction, I would say. But again, let me know what you guys think. Do you think the market wants higher or lower retail sales data? I shaved my beard. I trimmed it up. Man, it's looking much better. I gotta just start using that gauge on the trimmer. Look at Nvidia breakdown. I'm not saying blue chips don't at some point top out. What I'm saying is that trying to predict the ones that do and betting on their downfall is a really risky bet, to be honest. Hey, thank you, Manny. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at myself in the stream and I'm like, hey man, I gotta use this gauge because this gauge makes it clean. Nvidia has more downside. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're just trying to argue, King. Who said the Cybertruck, brother? All right, so yeah, so the Model Y gives you 330, miles of range. Regardless, you said 100 miles. And again, so I mean, regardless of which one it is, whether it's 250 or 400, you're again still insignificant, brother. I didn't get a haircut. I need a haircut, but I didn't get one. My hair is still crazy long, I gotta get one today, maybe tomorrow. Yeah, but even if you go with the Cybertruck, right? 250 miles is way more than 100, brother. And again, I'm not telling you to buy one. I'm just saying that's not really a eliminating factor, Again, Nvidia is really what's dipping the market down. The market stayed in this trend. And again, guys, you can see we you can see we're still in this trend pretty closely. We're using the volume weighted average price to 200 EMA as kind of like the level. All right. We still got about 11 minutes. Yeah, but I mean, again, KC, I think there's a flaw in that thinking, brother. And again, it's all good. Like, we can agree to disagree. I think there's a flaw in your thinking because I think a lot of people, I think that the biggest company in the world usually are fine. Like, I think Apple's going to be obviously fine long term. There's too much utility of it. Like, people use them too much. I think Tesla is probably going to be fine long term. Now, it might dip down some, it might drop some, but betting on some huge downfall in something like Netflix or Apple or Tesla over the long run, I think is a risky bet. You know, again, maybe I'm wrong. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people take in which they try to invest in mid cap stocks as an example, right? Like, a lot of people invest in mid caps like they're blue chips and they end up losing huge percentages. They end up losing 75% because mid caps can be hot 1 second and then fail, you know? And so I think there's just a lot of risk in betting against the largest companies in the world, you know. And maybe you pick the right one, but I certainly don't think it's easy to pick the right one. But again, maybe I'm wrong. You know, I think Apple, at least, like Apple as an example, is probably going to be fine long term. It's just too big of a company, and it's been around for how long has Apple been around? Since what, 1980s? When did Apple go public? Went public in 1980. So Apple's been a public company for 45 years. And so 43 and a half years, but still. Rivian is the truck maker. Yeah, Rivian's got some nice cars, and I've seen them out there right now too. I've seen them out. There's a lot of Rivians. Yeah, and again, the Apple one is the one that I'm skeptical of because, again, like as an example, with technology, it's about young people, you know, and Apple does a really good job of locking down the younger markets in terms of business, right? They do a really good job, and I'll explain how, right? So again, I have a 14-year-old who has an Apple phone, bro. I could buy her the brand new Samsung. I could buy her a brand new Samsung, and she wouldn't take it, right? She would not. She would refuse it. Again, I could buy her a brand new phone, and she's got a couple-year-old iPhone. I could buy her a brand new one. She wouldn't want it. So what Apple has done is they made it their exclusivity that they've built around their phones to where, you know, you're a different color in the text messaging system if you're not an Apple, right? And so to a certain extent, it ostracizes people who don't have Apple. And in that regard, young people purely want Apple phones, you know. And once somebody starts using a phone, it's very difficult for them to switch brands. And so I think in that regard, Apple over time is going to be fine. I think they're going to continue to grow in a profound way because of that specific thing, and plus of a lot of other stuff. But I think that aspect alone gives them a pretty good future. But maybe I'm wrong. Again, there's a chance I'm wrong. The overarching point, though, is that betting against them long term is a risky bet. You know, betting against these big behemoth companies are pretty risky bets. Now, if it's an obsolete play, like if you're betting on obsolete and technology, like satellite dishes, right? Like betting on dishes demise makes sense because satellite dishes are obsolete technologies to a certain extent in terms of like cable, right? Like you don't need to slap a satellite dish on your home anymore and use that to watch TV. Like the technology has evolved past that. And so betting against dish on demand and stuff like that makes sense in that regard because, again, there's just the technology is obsolete now. But outside of that, I don't know. I think it's risky. Nobody remind me of the Astros either. I don't want to hear it. Rangers won. At least we got a Texas team going. And Texas, I hope the Rangers can pull it off. But I'd rather the Astros would have won. No, Goldman beat on both metrics live. So they beat on both metrics. Hey, we got about 6 minutes left. So this timer is actually a little bit early. We got about 6 minutes left. Yeah, what's up, Douglas? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. And again, I just think over time, like I think a lot of people take let's bet against companies long term, and I get being short biased, but I've always said it, and I remain pretty consistent there. Again, betting against the largest companies in the world is usually a pretty risky bet. You know why? Because the stock market in general is going to go up over time, and like sure, companies fall off the S&P 500, and companies are added to the S&P 500, but over time, companies like that move up for the most part, especially like big name brands in the market. But again, it's all good. Oh, I know Starlink is available, and I'm not talking about. That's why I said streaming services with satellite is obsolete. Satellites overall, though, are being widely used specifically for internet, and so I understand that value in satellites for sure. I'm talking about like direct TV, dish on demand. Like I'm talking about companies that slap a satellite dish on your roof and use that to give you cable TV, which was a thing. Young people might not remember, but that's definitely a thing, and it's been a thing. And at this point in time, you can stream everything, for much less with no contract. And so, those companies probably are going to struggle over time. Specifically Dish, like DISH, specifically that company is probably going to struggle. And again, I've been saying this for a hot minute. I've been saying this really since Dish was at like $8. I said this in August, in July, and it's basically dropped 30-40%. I'll have to find the tweet. But I said this, find the tweet. All right, so again, here's a tweet that I did back. This was in April of this year. So again, Dish was at about $8 to $9 when I said this, right? $8 to $9. All right, guys. Again, we got about 3.5 minutes left. But again, Dish was at about $8 or $9, right? So you can see. Question: anybody have a system for identifying obsolete business models like Dish and capitalizing on it? I have to imagine that everybody could have seen the drop in price coming with the evolution of TV tech and streaming. And so again, this was in April. And again, this thing's dropped like 40%, 50% since then. All right, guys. Hey, we got 3 minutes. I'm going to put it in sub-only mode, so slap the sub button if you haven't yet, team. We appreciate it. Wait, did I switch the links up? I think I forgot to switch the links up. It's all good. This. Again, we are going to throw it in sub-only mode, so hey, slap the subscribe button if you haven't already, guys. We appreciate the love. We'll get rid of some of the spammers, too. Go. And again, if you want to day trade with me, guys, so we've already built up a little bit of a cushion today. And again, Top Step is a funded program in futures. They give you a demo, they test your skill. If you want to day trade, do not try penny stocks. Most people are going to lose. Do not try putting up thousands yourself. Most people are going to lose. Don't try cash accounts. You're going to be severely restricted. It just doesn't work that well. What does work is the futures market. There's no PDT rule. You could day trade short in futures, no PDT restrictions. And these funded account programs give you a demo. They test your skill. And if you can pass it on the demo and pass their testing, follow their rules, they fund you between $50,000 to $150K with a 90% split. And so your reward is pretty similar at 90%, but your risk is only $49 a month. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. And in that regard, it builds your skill, teaches you how to trade under pressure, and a lot of good stuff. So check them out. Here's the link. They are a sponsor. Of course, as I always say, I'm biased because they pay me money. There's the link. Check it out. All right, so again, we're going to turn this off. We got about a minute and a half left, guys. About a minute and a half. What stock's down this morning? Nvidia. Nvidia's way in on the market for sure. You can see it on the right. All right, guys, we got about a minute left, about 1 minute. Again, we're going to put the SPY up here too. SPY's been pretty sideways today. Just not a lot of edge. I mean, we've been shorting this downward trend. And in that regard, the trend's been pretty easy to spot. But All right, guys, 45 seconds. Yeah, I mean, people take this last drop, but here's Apple on the year, though. And this is where you really got to start, like, understanding. Like, this is Apple this year, right? So Apple has gone from basically 140 to 180s this year. So, I mean, Apple's still fine, regardless of anything. You know? It's just the market flows. All right, guys, 20 seconds, 20 seconds. All right, here we go, team. 2 seconds. All right, so there's the release. Market's dipping down. Canadian CPI just came out. Canadian CPI came in at minus 0.1. Retail sales, 0.7% for retail sales month over month versus 0.3% expected. Much higher retail sales than expected, and the market does not like this. Again, this signals inflation problems, right? So core retail sales came in at 0.6% versus 0.7 or versus 0.2% expected. So way higher. Core retail sales came in 3 times larger than expected. Retail sales came in over 2x more than expected at 0.7% for retail sales versus 0.3% expected. So much higher than expected retail sales. Core retail sales also came in 3 times more than expected here as well. And core excludes food and energy. Again, the market does not like this. And yeah, market does not like this. Again, core retail sales came in much higher than expected as well. It signals inflation problems. This just means the market is fearing inflation still. All right, so we're going to put this up on screen so you can see it. Again, market's still fearing inflation. Look at this big dip. Starting to bounce back up a little bit, though. Not the biggest drop, but it's still a significant dip from retail sales. Again, the market fearing inflation. Buy back up a little bit, though. Again, conventionally higher retail sales is good. It's better for economic growth in the economy, but obviously worse for pricing and inflation. If retail sales are higher, if people are still buying like crazy, it's bad for prices because that generally means prices are going to go up if people continue to buy it. Just to give you the nuance behind it, like why the market's reacting this way. Again, the market's reacting this way because so many much higher than expected retail sales signals more spending. More spending is bad for inflation, obviously, because more people spend, more businesses can and will raise prices. You know, like, again, the example I always use just to put it in layman's terms is if you're selling pieces of bubble gum for 25 cents, right? And you put out, 500 pieces of bubble gum every day at your store, and the bubble gum's gone every day by the end of the day, right? And you're selling it for 25 cents, signaling higher sales, right? What are you going to do as a business owner? You're going to say, hey, well, I'm going to charge 40 cents for a piece of bubble gum now. And if that continues to sell, if you put that out for day after day and they disappear at the end of the day, you're continuing to sell, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to bump the price up to 50 cents, so forth and so on. And so higher retail sales means higher prices, and that is why the market doesn't like it. That's why the market's reacting negatively, is because, again, higher retail sales means higher prices, and that's not something the market necessarily wants. Yeah, Canada CPI is down, but Canadian CPI is not really going to influence our markets like that. Not really. Again, Canadian CPI came in month over month at minus 0.1% versus a gain of 0.1% expected. Core CPI came in at 2.8%. So yeah, Canadian CPI came in slightly better, but it's not really going to affect the markets. Honestly, though, the SPY started to bounce up a little bit. So SPY bouncing up. Tech has been the one that's a little bit more affected, but again, we're starting to move up some. Look at the SPY bounce. And so we're kind of flat on this report, which is interesting. Yeah, so retail sales increasing, more sales than normal, or more sales than expected, much more sales than expected on both metrics. The 10-year. All right, so now we're coming back down a little bit. Yeah, look at bonds. So 10-year yields at 4.8% right now, which is pretty high. Yields are at 4.8%. So bond yields are very high currently. Yeah, look at the 10-year. Again, it's at 4.8% now, which is again, to understand the yields. So bond yields are guaranteed returns, right? So if you invest, basically if you hear bonds or treasury bonds or treasury notes or treasury bills or whatever you want to call it, right? I always explain this to people. What that means is like you're loaning money to the US government and you're earning a specific annual return on that money, right? So I use 100K as an example. If you spend 100K on treasury yields, on 10-year yields, right? That means you're going to get your money back in 10 years, right? So if you loan the US government 100K for that in treasury bonds in 10-year, if you buy $100,000 worth of 10-year bonds, right? What you're going to do is you're going to get 4.8% right now yearly, right? So for that 100K, you're going to get $4,800 each year, and they're going to pay you annual payments. It might be annual. It might be, you might get 2 a month or 2 a year, depending on what it is. But you're going to get $4,800, $4,800 in interest paid to you yearly for loaning the U.S. government that 100K. And at the end of that 10-year period, you're going to get your 100K back. And so over a 10-year period, right now, if you buy 100K in treasury bonds, you're going to make $48,000. So you're going to make 48% return right now over a 10-year period. You're going to make 48%. You're going to make almost 50% return in 10 years by loaning the U.S. government money. And what this means is that people are going to buy less. When the yields go up like this, people are going to buy the S&P 500 less because these are competing securities, right? If more people buy yields, they tend to buy less shares of the S&P. They tend to buy less index fund purchases. And so in that regard, short term, there's going to be an inverse correlation between treasury yields and the markets, right? The Q, the Nasdaq, the S&P, they're going to move inversely short term to these yields because again, if everybody's buying treasury yields, they're not going to put their money in the S&P 500 and vice versa. That's the thing to understand about this, right? That once you understand that dynamic, you start to see why people look at yields a lot. $150K into 1 month treasury bills paying around $650 monthly. Yeah, but you don't think there's other ways to make more than that per month with $150,000? Like you buy a $150,000 house, how much in rent are you going to earn each month? It's arguable. I mean, it varies. It's very nuanced, and there's a lot of arguments for or against it. Right, but again, here's the SPY. Hey, bud. Love you, buddy. You're looking sharp today, man. 56 degrees outside. Oh, it feels good outside. My daughter's in here singing holiday songs right now. I love y'all. Y'all be safe. All right. Sorry, my kid's coming in here giving me a hug. Problem is people buy treasury bills, not long-term bonds. Yeah, I mean, I feel you. But I mean, how much does 1 month treasury bills pay? One month treasury rate is at 5.6%. I guess y'all are right. I mean, if I'm going to earn 5.6% in a month, or no. I'm not going to earn 5.6% in the month. I am going to earn, so that's the annual number, right? So this would mean you're going to earn much less than that. So like, just to give you guys the math here. So if you loan the US government 100K and you earn 5.6%, that's going to be $5,600 a month or a year that you're going to earn. Divided by 12 is going to be the monthly payment. So you're going to make about $460, correct? That's correct, right? I'm pretty sure that's right. Which is fine. But and I guess that goes to show if that's the case, why would anybody buy 10-year yields if you could earn that monthly with less maturity? What is going on with my mic? Yeah, that's my point, is that it really just depends on the person. Yeah, retail sales are higher than expected. So retail sales, the number might be right here. It could be. I'm not saying it is. It might be. Also, guys, again, y'all check out Top Step. Top Step, if you want to day trade with me, Top Step gives you a demo and they test your skill. And this is a very unique situation. I wish I had something like this when I first got started, because understand a couple things. Number one, most day traders lose. All right. Doesn't matter what course you take, who you follow, most day traders are going to lose money. Okay. Now, with that in mind, that's a truth. All right. With that in mind, you can either put up thousands yourself trying to look cool on the internet, or you can take a funded account program, put up noticeably less. The base combine on Top Step's $49. They're going to give you a demo. They're going to test your skill. And in futures, you can day trade essentially the Q, essentially the SPY, and what's called the E-mini and Nasdaq. It's the same price action, different price, same price action, no PDT rule. Right. And so, again, you can either put up thousands yourself trying to look cool, or you can take a funded account program. They're going to give you a demo, test your skill. If you can hit the target, well, without hitting the max loss and following their rules, they fund you same amount, 50K between 50K to 150K with a 90% split. There's free funding coaches, great resources, a lot of really good stuff for traders. It teaches you how to trade, and there's noticeably less risk. And I think in that regard, it makes perfect sense. Although they are a sponsor of mine, but if you want to help support the channel, we are going to be day trading on them today. So stick around. We already day traded a little bit with them. You can see we are up currently about $180 right now, $180. We got a 5-to-1 win-loss ratio. Check that number out. I'm pretty happy with that number. But again, if you want to check them out, great way to help support the channel. Again, I'm definitely biased because they pay me money, but check out the link. Hey, what's up, charts? It's all good, dude. All right. Doesn't make sense to buy a long-term bond. Oh, for sure. I'm not going to let them sit on 100K. Again, the other dynamic of this that I'm not really talking about, right? Let me fix this. I think my bottom of the trend. So we're actually really following this trend we've been in all morning right here. You can kind of see it. We've been in this trend all morning. We've been following it essentially all morning. The other dynamic of this that people miss, right? And one of the reasons they're so competitive with the S&P is that when you invest in the S&P, you're going to get about 10% every year. On average, not every year. You're going to earn on average 10% yearly. Again, it's not every year. Sometimes you're going to have slumps, bear market, stuff like that. But again, 10% on average means that you might have bad years, but you're going to make noticeably more on your good years, right? So again, that's the thing to understand, is that you're going to get basically 2 times what bonds pay you on average investing and sitting in the S&P 500 for 10 years. Right? Like, that's the truth of the markets, right? And that's using a century of data in the S&P 500. And so conventionally, a lot of people choose the S&P 500 because the S&P 500 will give you basically twice the bond return, but there's noticeably more risk. You know, of course, the market can crash, the market can slump. The people who are at the biggest risk are imminent retirees, like people who are retiring imminently, that they need the money soon, because most of the time can heal a lot of wounds. Scars heal over time in the market, right? So over time, if you let your money sit long enough, you're going to make it back, even if we do crash. And so the people at the biggest risk are people who are retiring imminently, who need their money. And so if they get bad timing in the market, so they might wait 10 years, the markets are treating them great, and then the market just slumps really big before it comes time for them to cash out. That's the risk of the S&P, you know. But again, if you're holding long-term, you know, it's the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, it's all inflation hedges, right? Because the price of living increases over time. And so buying gold, buying real estate, buying bonds, buying the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, the Dow, they're all hedges against inflation. Now, recession has to do with GDP, which higher retail sales, you know, yeah, it's less for recession fears. Look at the SPY slump. It's less for recession fears, but better ultimately for the economy, I would say. All right, so we're going to get ready to day trade, it looks like, since we're getting some volatility in markets now. We're going to get ready to day trade. Let's trade some futures. Again, we built up a nice little cushion on the day so far. Look at this dip in the Nasdaq here. We got a cushion breaking down. Yeah, Nvidia is what's slumping. And again, Nvidia is one of the reasons the market's up so much to begin with, though. Even with the slump in Nvidia is still around 450, so it's basically where it was yesterday at the open. So it basically just gave back yesterday's gains. And again, remember, Nvidia was at 407s a couple weeks ago, so Nvidia is still up big. It's just kind of pulling back now, influencing the market negatively, definitely dipping the market. We could put up Tesla here, and then we could put up Nvidia on the top right. Look at the slump. Nvidia down to 446. Yeah, Nvidia's falling fast here, guys. Wow. So Nvidia, big dip, big drop. See if there's any news here for Nvidia. Okay, so here's the reason Nvidia is dropping, guys. Okay, I'm going to tell you the reason. This is big news. A U.S. official has confirmed that there's a new rule that expands license requirements for chip-making equipment to 21 countries aside from China. So outside of China, I'm going to put this up in chat so people can see it. This is the news that's tanking the markets right now. That's specifically tanking Nvidia here. We're going to put this up on Twitter too. Interesting for sure. All right, guys. All right, team. All right, so I'll pause the music for a second. I want to see if this breakdown continues here. Yeah, so Kathy Wood said they believe there's a 90% chance of approval by ARC's January 10th deadline. Yeah, so there we go. And again, chip makers struggling right now after this news release. Let's see if it takes the rest of the market here. Look at Nvidia dump down to 442s. So Nvidia is still breaking down heavy here. Big drops. Yeah, Nvidia is certainly influencing the market. Yeah, I've been trading the Nasdaq this morning, but I mean either one of them are pretty volatile. Tesla's gapping down. Nvidia is the one flushing the market right now, though. Look at Nvidia break down to 442s. So Stacy, what's going on right now? And again, I'm going to put this up on screen. Here's the news that's tanking Nvidia right now. U.S. officials confirmed a new rule that the new rule expands license requirements for chip making equipment to 21 countries outside of China. So that is the news here for sure. That is the news affecting microchips, which in turn is affecting everything else. You know, it's tanking the market right now. I love how everybody's hating on Dylan Dennis. Yeah, like everyone's mad at Dylan for losing. You think you're smart until you gotta spell jujitsu. All right, guys. Again, Nvidia bouncing up to 444s. Let's see if it holds. Dylan was swinging and missing. Well, yeah, because he's a freaking jujitsu dude. He's not a boxer, man. Like, people are mad at Dylan. It's like, bro, Logan Paul is cherry picking non-boxers, and then acting like it's some huge win when he beats him. Of course he wins. Like, Dylan Dennis is a jiu-jitsu champ. He's not a boxing champ. You throw boxing gloves on him, of course he's gonna lose. Like, that should be a very obvious thing. It's kind of funny. It's like, again, I could never imagine rooting for Logan Paul so hard that, like, Logan Paul seems like a terrible human being, like just a horrible guy. If you look at like what he's done to his past co-hosts and all that stuff, he just looks like a bad dude. Like, who did, William? Who sold all those shares? Yeah, Logan's not about to fight him in MMA, which is even more suspect. It's like, dude, because he knows he's going to get choked out and then it's going to get embarrassed, right? Like, Dylan took this for the payday. When Logan comes up to me, says, hey, bro, I'll pay you $2 million to box me. I'm boxing him. I'll box him, I suck at boxing, but, like, I'll still box him. I'm better at jiu-jitsu, but I'll still box him, You can pay me $2 million for something. I mean, and again, I think Logan took the biggest loss out of all this. I think Logan can say whatever he wants, but he's secretly hurting from how Dylan spoke about his fiance. He's mad. That affected his relationship deep into the future. So, like, people might forget about Dylan Dennis. They're not going to forget about what he said about Logan's fiance. And I think Logan, in that regard, Logan took the biggest L he could. He was playing good defense. You could tell, again, I guess the problem, Eric, is that anybody that actually expected Dylan to box effectively had unreasonable expectations. Like, of course he's not a good boxer. You think he's just going to stand there and get KO'd? Of course not. He did what was smart and mostly worked on his defense. He knew he was going to lose, right? He's just taking the check. He didn't get knocked out. Like, all the smack that Logan talked, right? Logan couldn't even knock out a jiu-jitsu guy, that couldn't box at all. So it's more, again, I think it looks more rough on Logan than anybody else. All that talk, Logan couldn't even KO him, he's just selling the fight. Thoughts on KSI losing? I didn't actually watch the fights because, again, I'm not going to pay for that nonsense, man. So I didn't even watch the fight. I know Tommy Fury is probably a better boxer than all of them, but I think none of them really can box, and I'm not going to pay for that, Nvidia bouncing back up a little bit. It's at 445s, so it's trying to hold. No, Logan has been training boxing for 5 years. Pumpkin guy. Again, Logan has been training boxing for 5 years using the best trainers in the world, brother. There's a difference between Logan, who's like a trained boxer. He's been training boxing with some high quality coaches for 5+ years, right? There's a difference between him cherry picking a jiu-jitsu champion. He's basically only picking fights that he knows he can win. And he's trying to see who's dumb enough to pay for it. Is what it is. Same thing with his brother. Yeah, the market's fallen down. It's mostly from Nvidia, though. And again, Nvidia's starting to bounce back up a little bit. Nvidia back up to over 445s, testing 446s. Again, I'm not sure if we're going to hold. If we look at bond yields, again, up to 4.81% for bond yields, and 10-year treasury yields up to 4.81%. Is there a security symbol for short-term bills, treasury bills? I'm curious I know the return is like 5.6% short-term, which is the inversion that people talk about, but Is there a way to look at that in when markets, retail sales signaling a rate hike? Let me see. But let's look at the rate hike probabilities here. So the next rate hike is in November, November 1st specifically. So the next rate hike is in about 3 weeks. So the probabilities are still pretty high for a rate hike. Or for a pause. Look at the Nasdaq break lows again. So look at the Nasdaq crack lows. Here's Nvidia. Again, 10-year yields are still pushing up. Look at 10-year yields up here at 4.82%. Nvidia dipping down a little bit. It's at 444%. Nasdaq still breaking down pretty heavily throughout all of this stuff. And again, if we look at the target rate probabilities for November, we can see 85% probability of a rate hike, 85%, 15% probability, or 85%, I'm sorry, probability of a skip or a pause again. So there's 85% of people betting that we're not going to raise rates this next cycle, and 15% of people think we're going to get a 25 basis point rate hike is what it is. Yeah, so Powell's speaking on the 19th, and then the blackout period until November 1st this year. Okay, 1 to 3 month T-bills. Yeah, but these can't possibly be returns. No. Usually I can move a decimal place over to get the interest rate. Like on TNX, I can move a decimal place over and see we're at 4.81%. But for BIL, it looks like it's at, unless it's at 9.16%. Fink says buy Bitcoin. Kramer says sell. Who would you listen to? Neither. I would make up my own analysis of it. I appreciate the donation, Chris. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you so much, man. But I would probably make up my own analysis of it. I'd use my own analysis. USO2Y. No, you can't trade stocks at all. You can only trade. You can trade index funds. So when I say the S&P 500, I mean you can trade the actual S&P 500. When I say the Nasdaq, I mean you can trade the actual Nasdaq. You can't actually trade stocks. You can only trade the index funds containing those stocks. Again, here's Tesla. Tesla breaking lows as well. Nvidia still consolidating over 440s though. Yeah, so Rod Aid filed for bankruptcy a day ago. Binance US suspends all US dollar withdrawals. Wow. So is Binance suspending withdrawals? Yeah, they said it's a hardware failure, is what they said. Binance suspending all US withdrawals. Weird. Tesla still cracked lows. Tesla is what's weighing down the market right now. Look at Tesla. I guess people are assuming. My guess is the reason this is affecting Tesla negatively is because Tesla margins have been a big talking point. And I think with microchips more expensive that power AI and full self-driving, people are more skeptical in terms of the margins of prices here because of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just something I'm looking at. DCA into these EV stocks, maybe. All right, Nvidia back up to 446. The Nasdaq is really getting affected negatively here. What other stocks are dropping right now? Is it Apple? And Apple's down, Microsoft's down. All right, guys. Tesla at 251.50s here, 251.50s. Yeah, we got Tesla earnings tomorrow. It's going to be big. Fed member speaking. Who's speaking right now? Again, slap that subscribe button if you haven't already, guys. We appreciate the love. Starting to get a bounce back up on Nvidia to 446. Let's see, Fed speakers. We got Bowman speaking. I don't think we have any Fed speakers until 10:30 though, so we still got some time. Tesla popping up a little bit to 252s. I think Tesla 250 is a big spot you want to watch. Goldman Sachs earnings barely more than expected. So why is the SPY down? Because Goldman Sachs isn't the biggest influence over the market. The big influence over the market, specifically Nvidia right now, Tesla, Apple, Amazon. Those are the heavily weighted stocks right now. The Nasdaq and S&P. Apple's number one. Nvidia's number 4, Microsoft. Like, these are all heavily weighted stocks, right? The reason the market's actually down is because of this news story you can see right below us. You can see U.S. officials confirming the new rule expands license requirements for chip making equipment, not just to China like people originally thought, but in 21 other countries as well. That is causing microchips specifically to have a pretty bearish reaction. Again, you can see Nvidia right here, which is the biggest microchip company. As soon as this news was released at about 7:45 market time, just dumped down, about 8:45 market time, just dumped down, gap down from 452s all the way down to 440, back up to 445s right now, 444s, but that is certainly weighing on markets overall. It's weighing on tech overall. The markets are dipping down from this news release. Tesla specifically is down as well. What's up, Tiny? Good morning. Hope you guys are well. All right, so Binance, according to Asher, this guy Asher said Binance minutes ago updated their terms of service. Number 1 is they don't have any US dollar. Number 2 is that users who deposited US dollar can no longer withdraw it. And number 3, there's no more FDIC insurance. Now you can only withdraw fiat by sending Binance US dollar. This happened yesterday. They sent this email to customers. They said we were updating our TOS, taking effect October 16th. We updated the deposit insurance language in our TOS in accordance with guidance received by the FDIC. We updated the language regarding US dollar withdrawals in the event that customers wish to withdraw US dollar funds from their account. They may be able to do so by converting US dollar funds to stablecoin or other digital assets, which can subsequently be withdrawn. So yeah, basically now, instead of being able to withdraw directly US dollar, now they essentially have to take it and send it to a regulated brokerage. It's going to cost more. Like most of the time what I do is I send it to like Coinbase. Coinbase has a direct to debit option, so it'll give you US dollars since it's regulated. But over time, one of the worries regarding crypto is that over time, there's going to be lesser and lesser legitimate US regulated brokerages that are able to actually cash out. And so as that grows over time, it's going to make it difficult, I think, in some ways. All right, so bouncing back up a little bit on the Nasdaq again. Nvidia has a bear flag from this move. It's sitting around 445s. Tesla bouncing up some. The Nasdaq moving up, but a very small bounce. As it still looks pretty bearish, but we're down so much. I'm not quite interested in shorting it yet. We need a little bit better of an edge, I think. Too much extension on the downside. All right, so still trying to bounce. Again, very neutral price action over the last 5 to 10 minutes since all this stuff happened. We still got we got about 19 minutes left. We had some other earnings drop today. Sorry, man. Twitter will catch you, dude. I'm watching this thing. The son reunited with his father who used to abuse him, and he beats his dad up, man. It's kind of a crazy video, man. These videos will catch me, too. I had ADHD, and so these videos are like, Luckily, we're muted here. There's just so much politics, right? And again, I'm pretty anti-political person, I'm not really about politics, man. I avoid it like, Manufacturing numbers in 5 minutes? What manufacturing numbers? Let me look. We got industrial production numbers and manufacturing production. We'll cover this too. Industrial production numbers expected at 0.1%. Manufacturing production expected at 0.1%. Bowman speaking in 7 minutes. Business inventories in 47 minutes. So we'll cover these. I don't know if these are going to influence the market. Again, we got 40 minutes or 40 seconds until the numbers come out. Again, we're going to cover them. Canadian CPI is actually already out, YouTube. So Canadian CPI is already out. It came in slightly better than expected on some metrics. It came in at minus 0.1% versus positive 0.1% gain. And on the year, it came in at 3.8 versus 4% expected. So it came in slightly better than expected mostly. We got 10 seconds before industrial production and other numbers drop. But again, not really a big release. All right, so here's the release. We'll see when it reflects. I don't think these are going to move the markets much, and you can kind of see the markets now. Here's the Nasdaq. It's not really doing much. Bowman's supposed to speak in 5 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I get it, Bill. But when I say I dislike politics, I dislike the realm of politics. I dislike rooting for one side like it's your football team. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they're just, I think the medias in general are just trying to distract people from everything they can. And I think politics has just turned into big business and bureaucrats, I don't know. I'm just not really. All right, so there goes industrial production numbers. Most of these came in higher than expected. So again, industrial production numbers month over month came in at 0.3% versus 0.1%. Manufacturing production came in at 0.4 versus 0.1%. So higher than expected production numbers on both metrics in industrial and manufacturing production. So yeah, Nvidia sitting at 443s right now, 443s. Well, in that regard, the Fed is going to be more likely to raise rates because of prices increasing. All right, 1 second, wait. All right, there we go. Again, markets are very flat. Nvidia is one that you want to watch. It's right around 442s. It's trying to hold, but we got 14 minutes. Thoughts on Bank of America? Banks have been pretty strong recently. Although if you look at a 20-day chart, we're still down over the last 20 days. And so prior to bank earnings, we had a lot of weakness. And since bank earnings released, most of the banks came in better than expected. Right now, what we see currently is Tesla breaking lows. So Tesla dropping under 251s. And I think we should watch 250s to see if it's actually going to hold here or not. So again, Tesla breaking down. But I think we should watch 250s. So a big psychological level, I think, at 250s. What's your take on tech? Yeah, I mean, again, I've talked about it before, and I really don't like talking about it too much. I want people to understand, like, I think both sides are equally toxic in their own ways. I think neither side is necessarily good. Neither side necessarily has the best interest of the people at heart. And I think I actually prefer split governments a lot of the time because, it's less polarized in terms of decisions. I'm very neutral. I'm a capitalist, and so I believe in business, of course, and capitalism. I think capitalism is the most effective, type in the world. But, I also believe that we should be able to do whatever we want to do as long as it doesn't hurt other people, and so that's kind of where I stand. Not really a libertarian because I disagree with them in some ways too. And so I really am pretty neutral politically, and I think the more you get wrapped up in it, I'm not going to say the more gullible you are, but I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. Tesla's still breaking down. It's at 250/50s. Yeah, Netflix is tomorrow too. The big one tomorrow is Tesla, though. Tesla is the heavily weighted one. Netflix is pretty heavily weighted as well, but it's nothing like Tesla. I think Tesla is like number 5 or 6 in terms of heavily weighted stocks in the world. Yeah, for sure, Tiny, 100%. DVD rewinder. DVDs, man. Again, GameStop is what I always think about when I hear of. And again, I like GameStop, but GameStop, the obvious thing. And again, I brought up this conversation with a lot of GameStop traders, right? But the problem with GameStop is obsolescence in physical video games. Like, you don't need to buy physical copies. Technologies evolve. And specifically, video game technology has evolved to the point where barely anybody's actually buying physical copies of any video game. Very, very rarely is anybody going to choose to go out at midnight on a game's release and buy a physical copy of video games. You don't see midnight releases anymore. Why? It's because you can download the freaking game at home. You can download the game at home on your system. You don't need to buy the actual copy of video games. And, obviously that's bad for GameStop. I think, GameStop is going to really struggle to find a niche of business that it's going to have good margins and success at, because number one, they're losing money right now. So that's the number one. GameStop's losing money right now. With that, what are they going to replace their business model with to help them succeed? Genuine question, because I don't know. I think obviously over the next 5 years, GameStop is going to go bye-bye unless it thinks of another business model that's effective. Again, if it was me personally, I've said this before. If it was me personally, I would probably go with like comic book store / collectibles. I think that audience translates well relative to what they currently have. But you're still going to have some longevity there. So again, I would go with collectibles, comic books, pop culture type stuff. And I think that audience translates really well to it. I don't think you can sit around selling physical copies of video games anymore. I think that's obviously obsolete. And of course, every time I say this, you got a couple people like, nuh-uh, I buy physical copies worth of video games. And to understand this, like, there's always outliers. Like, you're going to have outliers. You're going to have certain people that prefer physical copies. Most of the time when they do, they prefer physical copies in specifically rare collectible games. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about basic retail. I haven't bought a physical copy of a video game in years and years. The last time I did, I think, was Christmas, years ago. And so aside from that, people don't buy physical copies of games anymore. I'm doing all right on this bearish day. Emerging into a hot topic. Yeah, again, I don't want to start talking about politics. It gets too many people wrapped up. Again, I'm not against either side. Understand that. I'm pretty neutral, as long as, like, I disagree in some ways with both sides, but again, I'm pretty flat politically. Yeah, but I think that's too much of a change. Casey says, I like the idea of drinking and, smoking arcade for GameStop. I think that's too big of a pivot. Wait, did Lucid report earnings today? Ooh, yeah, Lucid dumping down here. Was it Lucid or was it Nicola that pushed the car down the hill? Or pushed the... Okay, so they reported delivery numbers, actually, or production numbers. So Lucid drops, they produced 32% less vehicles in the last quarter than a year ago. And so again, they're going to struggle. These up-and-coming EV brands are risky. The less risky one is Rivian, but it's still pretty risky. Right, for sure. Like, you can buy the physical copy of the game, but it doesn't mean anything, right? Because exactly what Eli says. You're going to buy that physical copy. Listen, this started back when Halo 4 was released. When Halo 4 came out, I went and got the physical copy at the midnight release. This was like 10 years ago. And I brought it home thinking I was going to be able to throw it in and play it. And I had to download. I had to download it once I got home. And so even if you buy a physical copy, you still have to download the game when you get home. So like you're just wasting time and energy going buy the physical copy, and you don't have the same protections that you think you do from buying physical like you used to. Like you used to be able to slap that disc in and then boom, you got the game, you could play it. Now you got to download it anyway onto your system most of the time, regardless of whether you have the physical or a digital copy. I use Quant Tower Julia on Top Step. Push the car down the hill. So Verde, I think it was NKLA. NKLA is a truck maker. They were making semi trucks, EV semi trucks, right? So years and years and years ago, they got charged with fraud. And the reason they got charged with fraud, I think it was NKLA. The reason they got charged with fraud is because they made a promo video implying that their EVs was correctly functioning, that their trucks were working and that their electric trucks were driving and working, right? But what they were really doing was they were pushing the truck down a hill and videotaping it like it was driving, right? And they put that in promo and marketing. And then they found out it was just rolling down a hill. And so they got sued for fraud and charged with fraud. And so that's what I mean by rolling the car down the hill. This was like 4 years ago or so. I can't remember how long ago it was. It was a while ago, but that's the context of what I said in terms of rolling the car down the hill. Yeah, but a drinking and smoking 1KC is way different, brother. Way different. You know, that means it's basically an adult only, you know. So you right now GameStop's for kids for the most part, right? Like most people that go to GameStoppers are kids and young people. Pivoting to a you know, like essentially a bar, you know what I mean? A bar arcade is going to be a pretty big pivot, you know. Yeah, it's true. It really happened. I mean, I can't remember how long ago this was, but it was a while back. Tesla right at 250s. Right at 250s right now. I don't know. We're going to stream Tesla earnings for sure tomorrow. All right, we got 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. Watch Tesla right here. Tesla right at 250. Psychological level, whole dollar level, big technical level. It seems like milestone spot. I'd watch that level closely. GameStop bowling lanes, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, Casey, think about it like this, bro. If you've got kids, would you let them go to basically an arcade bar by themselves? Would you drop them off there and pick them up later at an arcade bar? Probably not. I wouldn't, you know. But I'm not a big drinker. You guys, you know, and I'm not against drinkers. Like y'all do y'all's thing. I'm just not a big drinker, man. Again, I like being in control, and drinking, I'm not in control. Make bad decisions, you know. I've known a lot of people that drank and just make bad decisions, man. And they don't understand why, you know. I don't want to hang out with them anymore. It's just because they're constantly making bad decisions, man. All right, so again, Tesla at 250. Let's see if it holds. Yeah, again, I think that's too much of a pivot. Maybe not, though. Again, it's just me. Just subjective. Where's my phone? All right, guys, we got 2 minutes. So the Phillies winning again. Well, smoking's different, I think. I mean, I don't do either one, but like, I think cannabis is objectively less harmful than All right, guys. Hey, we got 1 minute. 1 minute. Because if you look at what GameStop currently sells, Casey, they sell collectibles. They sell cards. Some of them sell comic books. You know what I mean? So they're already kind of selling those collectibles to a certain extent already, right? And so I think pivoting to something that they're already currently doing, but just making it their main business makes a lot of sense. As well as the fact that Pokemon video games translates over to like Pokemon cards and so forth and so on. Comic books, like the audience is going to be similar. I'm looking at audience where like a smoking and drinking bar arcade is going to be a way different audience than what GameStop currently is. So I'm looking at a translation over to audiences. Anyways, here's the opening bell, guys. Nasdaq still cracking down right at the open. Tesla bouncing up. It's at 250s. Again, Nvidia down to 438. So Nvidia into the 430s right now. Again, look at Tesla pop. Nasdaq still breaking down. Again, Tesla's bouncing up a little bit. I'm looking at Apple. We get Apple at 177s. Nasdaq's really flushing down though. I'm watching Nvidia. What's dragging the market down right now? Look at the big dip in Nvidia or in the Nasdaq. What's dragging it down? Amazon maybe? It's not Apple. It's Amazon maybe. Tesla retracing some possibly. Can we say ripping yet? No, not yet for sure. All right, so mostly consolidation. Look, a lot of chops since the opening bell. Look at flat. Look at Nvidia. 3 doji candles basically at the open. Tesla rejecting at the VWAP, but trying to break over it. But a lot of flat action here. I don't really see much of an edge. We got a little bit of a cushion on the day already. So we got a couple $100 basically in profit, a little bit underneath that. Here's the P&L, but we're still kind of patient. I think we still got to be patient here and wait. Well, yeah, most stuff's gapping down. I'm talking about since the opening bell. Nvidia testing the bottom of that open range. We have an opening range here in the first 4 minutes, but we're starting to test the bottom. All right, so we're going to short. I don't really like lower the day shorts, but I think this breakdown could signal some weakness here in the Nasdaq, but maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I don't get punished here. I want to patiently wait and see if Nvidia continues to break down. See, with Tesla breaking down too, it's weird. Like, we're still green on the day even with this, but I'm seeing some weakness, but the Nasdaq's taking some while to hit. I'm trying to let it play out. There's a Tesla breaking lows. Come on. There we go. All right, so we're going to lock that in. So we're over $200 in profit. Took a little while. A little bit of a delayed response on the Nasdaq, which is okay. Mostly shorting right now. Again, we are up $205 on the day. So didn't get the biggest gain there. Big weakness since the open. All right, so we're short again. We got a cushion on the day, but we are trading the Nasdaq, which moves very quickly here, so we have to be careful. Probably trading a little bit too early into the open. Getting punished. We're pretty flat on the day even with this, but struggling. I'm gonna go ahead and get out there. We definitely lost some. We're still up $100. I think I'm trading a little bit too early, and I would rather take the $100 loss instead of risking more. And I think we might break down, and it looks like I just got faked out, but that's okay. I have to use good risk management. Yeah, I got to limit my risk and just protect my account over everything. Still great on the day, though. Up about $100. Watching Amazon and Tesla try to bounce back. Yeah, we're just down so much. That's the risk. I didn't want us to bounce big and have a big reversal. And so it's all good, but you gotta work on that. Watching the S&P now. Nice shepherd. That's a pawn. Get Nvidia trying to bounce a little bit. Amazon bouncing some too. Starting to squeeze up a little bit now. All right, we got one contract of the regular E-mini that we're shorting here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. The Nasdaq, we're up about $180 now. The Nasdaq is starting to bounce some, and so I just don't trust it. So I'm kind of scalping right now. We built that cushion back up. You can kind of see my P&L on the day. We're up about $185 actually. So still grinding. Haven't really taken any huge swing yet in this. Again, I think I got to wait for an edge. I'm going to short right now, though. I missed it. I wanted to short when it was a little bit higher, and I missed the entry. And now we're just getting punished here on this one, too. Yeah, this is too much risk. So now we're down on the day. We're down like $75, though. But again, I was worried the Nasdaq would rip because it was so extended on the downside. So maybe I should have stuck with my own plan, but it's all good. Nvidia back up to 437s, though. It does look kind of strong here. It's trying. Yeah, we'll see if it bounces back. There's the Nasdaq pulling back some. Yeah, we just got in a little bit early, I think. See if Nvidia breaks that. We got this resistance level drawn right here at 437s, and we've had this level for a minute. So I'm waiting to see if that rejects. All right, Nvidia's starting to pull. And we did reject too. Hopefully you guys are doing better than me. We had a cushion at the opening bell though, so like we're a little bit more protected there. All right, look at Nvidia dump down, starting to get some weakness here. There's the Nasdaq cracking down a little bit too, starting to really flush. We got ourselves back to green on the day. We're trading a little bit of the S&P again. So now we're back up to about $160 in profit. Never really losing that much from the system. Again, you can kind of see like we're down 80 bucks. Could be worse. Look at the Nasdaq dump here. I might put up the E-mini and start trading this one. I've had better success with it today. Make sure it's the right account. Not the wrong one. There you go. Okay, good. Some volatility here. There's the E-mini flush an eye. LMT, Lockheed Martin. Yeah, we're getting a lot of chop. I mean, I'm green. Scalping, we're up about 230, but not really any big edge. I think we broke down a lot, but stuff's starting to bounce back, and so I don't trust it. We might keep like shorting Nvidia here. Watching Amazon break down, watching Tesla try to creep up too, and then flush. All right, we're shorting. Shorting the Nasdaq. Covering. Okay. We're up 310. I'll probably switch back to the Nasdaq here and try to take the more volatile one. Since we have a $300 cushion, I can kind of pivot back. But again, we do have really choppy action. I'm watching Nvidia very closely. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to short this again. So we're short $50 up. So volatile though, but we got a cushion so we can deal with the volatility here. I could also maybe take 2 contracts, but I just have to cut it if it turns. Flat on the trade. There we go. We're up. All right, we're just going to go ahead and lock that in. $75 gain. Up 375 now, roughly. Again, we're watching Nvidia very closely, and this is what our trading strategy does, is we look at blue chip stocks, we try to gather a trend on them, and then we use that to bet on the Nasdaq, use that to bet on the S&P. Again, it's one of the reasons, like if you want exposure to day trading stocks, most of the time I'm watching blue chips. Like I'm looking at Nvidia, I'm looking at Tesla. If they look like bearish, that's when I'll short the Nasdaq, stuff like that. And that trend works kind of. But again, if you want to try out futures, day trading futures, Top Step's the place. Again, you can day trade the S&P, the Nasdaq, like I'm doing here. I use blue chips to guide me, and so it's very similar to day trading blue chips. The patterns are very similar, but there's no PDT rule in futures, and these funded account programs are allowed in which they give you a demo, test your skill. It's only $49. If you lose, it's not the end of the world if you're good enough to pass it. You got to make 3K in profit without losing 2K with a 50K demo. If you're good enough to pass it, they fund you between 50 to 150K, 90% split. They pay out millions every year, fund thousands of traders a year. If you want to check it out, here's the link. I might scalp this. It's too late now. Nvidia gave it back. See, I wanted to scalp it short, but Nvidia retraced too fast. As well as, like, it's a really sketchy trend right here. Like if you look at Nvidia since 935, it's been really sideways, but maybe I should have scalped it because there's the breakdown. Coinbase is ripping up. And the Binance failures, it's up to 76. All right, Nasdaq cracking down, Nvidia down to 432s. Well, what have a long-term influence? So Mickey Mantle's childhood home is for sale for $329,000. Big breakdown here. Usually I would short into this pops, but I need a larger. I guess I'll short. Low edge play. Slightly green, slightly red. I might take a risk now, guys. So we're up 350 on the day, and so I can take a risk, understanding if I lose, I'm back to square one. I was going to add to it. I didn't have time. Oh, well. I don't know if I think it's going to continue to break lows, though, is the problem. But I think it might retrace back to test it at least once. All right, so we'll add to it. There's 2 contracts. We're not going to add any more. There we go. All right, we just locked in half. Going to lock in the rest. All right, so we scalped some more. We are up 470. Again, we got a cushion now. 2.5 to 1 win-loss ratio. All right, we added some more. Again, we're going to start taking larger risks now because we can. All right, we're just going to lock that in too now. I guess we didn't need to take larger risks. We're keeping the same risk that we're at. So we're at 570 or so, almost 600. Nvidia is still cracking down, which is kind of what we're riding right now. We're riding the Nvidia weakness. I should have stayed in it, but again, we're kind of sniper-esque. We're not trying to take any grand slams. We're just trying to take base hits over and over again like we can. Keep our risks small. Pop it up a little bit. Part of me wants to short, but this has worked a little bit too much, and things usually don't work over and over again. So eventually it's not going to work as well. Bro, people acted like Jake Paul was actually sniffing something after the Logan Paul fight are crazy, bro. Listen, I don't know how many times I scratch my nose on a regular basis, right? Like it's a nervous tick. It's not obviously not that. And so they're just, they're just looking for clicks, which they're getting, I guess, from it. All right, so Tesla bounced it up. Nvidia started to bounce up a little bit. Is Disney ripping up? Hey, you love to see it. I mean, I'm already green on Disney. I've been green on it at 86s. We're actually pretty neutral on the day in equities. We're not down a lot. Could be a worse day. Nvidia's the big weak one, which we're not really in right now. Boeing. Yeah, Boeing up to 188. The problem is the Nasdaq has had such a little baby bounce that I don't trust it. It's not a big enough bounce, but Nvidia is consolidating around these lows, and it looks like it's going to crack lows. So I'll go ahead and short this, but I got to keep my wrist tight. There we go. Break down a little bit more for me, please. Thank you. All right. We cracked 600 in profits. We are up about 620 on the day or so. 607, sorry, 610. But again, I want you guys to understand the system, right? And I'm using Top Step for it. The easiest way to get funded in these funded account programs is to use the same type of risk management system I'm using. Of course, you have to be accurate with your scalps like I am, but the fear goes away when you do it like this, right? And what I mean by that is like, okay, if you look at how much I was ever down all day today, the most I was ever down was about $100, right? That's the most I was ever down all day today, and I'm up 600 on the day so far. So I've 6x'd my biggest loss, like my potential loss. And how do I do that? Is I use good risk management system. I only take larger risks, like specifically trading the Nasdaq. I usually only trade the Nasdaq if I have a cushion on the day already. So if I have profit on the day, then I can scale up. But until then, I trade very small. I trade one contract of the regular E-mini. That way I can build up a cushion of $100 to $200 with small risk. If I end up losing 200 on the day, I just walk away, So what that enables me to do is when I lose small. But when I win, I build up a cushion of a couple $100 and then I take larger risks, right? And then I make a couple more dollars and then I take larger risks. So if I lose right now, I could take a huge swing if I wanted to right now, potentially make over $1,000. And if I lose, I'm either going to be slightly green or break even for the most part, most likely, right? Instead of having these huge drawdowns in my accounts day after day because I'm unable to stop myself from pushing buttons, I got to limit my risk. And the way I do that is I build up cushions and then I take risks. It makes perfect sense. And I've been doing this pretty regularly. I've been funded in multiple accounts lately. And so, yeah, we're currently funded in multiple accounts. And again, it's just a good way to learn how to trade and limit your risk, regardless of what strategy you're using. Your markets break it down more. Nvidia down to 425s. Another one of my sponsors is a company called Chart Prime. And so this is a trading view indicator service. So you can use this in stocks, crypto, forex, futures. But again, I like using the market oracle. And you'll see why. Like I can pull up the market oracle. And again, the real edge is when you get an engulfing candle, and a reversal signal on Chart Prime within, I would say within 15 to 20 minutes of each other, within 3 to 4 candles on a 5-minute chart, right? So when you can get that, it's powerful. But there's so much more that they offer. So we're lagging a little bit. I might have to reset this because it's been a while since I've used it. There we go. Slowly adding to it. There we go. And so again, what I challenge you to do, Chart Prime is like 50, 60 bucks a month. I have to go back and look to see how much it is. But again, when you get an engulfing candle, and again, I think more than one means it's even better, right? So again, let's look at the last few examples of this happening. This is just in the last 24 to 48 hours. Okay. So number one, Here's an example of it right here. And I think when you get more than one engulfing candle shows up, the accuracy is even better. Look, nice breakdowns. All right, look, here's another one down here at 9 a.m. I think this was yesterday. Reversal up and a bullish engulfing candle. Huge breakouts. Right, here's another one. Possible reversal down, bearish engulfing candle. Nice breakdown for hours. And again, even if we take away the engulfing candle part and you just look at the reversals, like look at how accurate this is. Look, reversal down, drop. Reversal down, drop. Reversal up, bounce. Reversal down, drop. Reversal down, drop. The only one that didn't work, arguably, and you might have been able to still profit from it, was this one. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 out of 6 didn't work. And again, this is just a small piece. Like I can look at so much more stuff on this. I can put up chart patterns. I can put up smart money concepts. I can put up market dynamics. I can put up shorter term signals, and I can use these on any time frame. So like, look, there's the flag pattern. And again, I challenge you to back test some of these stuff yourself. And again, I think when more than one show up. So like, look, here is 2 engulfing candles, a reversal signal and a buy signal. And look at how accurate that move up is. Like, look at how powerful. I can't guarantee you're going to make money. Nobody can. I can put up an hourly chart if I want to take really long-term trades, or I can put up a 1-minute chart if I want to take short-term trades. But again, I challenge you to back test it yourself. Great way to help support the channel, and genuinely useful for me, at least. I can't guarantee you're going to make money. Nobody can. But again, if you want to check them out, here's the link. You can also use this banner right here and click that link too if you want to check it out. But yeah, guys. So tomorrow we got Tesla earnings. So we have Tesla earnings tomorrow. Happening with Apple. Yeah, so we got Tesla earnings tomorrow. We'll see if we get anything good. Tesla earnings should wildly influence the market. I'm going to go ahead and close it down. I built up a good profit on the day. I'm okay with my gains on the day, so I'll probably see you guys tomorrow. Be here bright and early tomorrow, guys. Remember, we have United Airlines earnings after the bell today, so we do have UAL earnings after the bell. We got some other earnings after the bell too. Let me go ahead and break down what we're going to get after the close today, because we got a couple. Today we've got United Airlines, Interactive Brokers, JB Hunt, Hancock Whitney, Pinnacle, Wintrust Financial, Preferred Bank, Equity Bank, all this evening. And then again, tomorrow morning, we got Procter & Gamble, Morgan Stanley, Nasdaq, Elevance, US Bank, M&T Bank, Ally, ASML, Elevance, US Bank, Winnebago, Commerce Bank, bunch of stuff dropping tomorrow. And then that's not even including we got housing starts and building permits at 8:30 tomorrow morning. We got Tesla earnings in the evening. And then Thursday, we got Big Papa Jerome Powell speaking. So I'll see you guys later. Love you all. Y'all be safe. Good day for me so far. We'll see what happens for the rest of the day. I'll see you guys later.